Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the channel. And today I'm going to go to my review of WCW Starrcade 1992. Starting off the evening, we'll go to our first match of the night. It is a tag team matchup. It is Dan Spivey and Van Hammer versus Johnny B. Bad and Cactus Jack. Number one, I thought this was a good opening match to start Starrcade 1992. Back and forth matchup between both teams with Johnny B. Bad and Cactus Jack keeping the pace of the match. Johnny B. Bad ends up hitting a left hook on Cactus Jack, and then Van Hammer goes for the cover, pins for the three, and your winners of the match are Dan Spivey and Van Hammer. Hats off to Dan Spivey and Van Hammer for getting the win in that matchup. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It's another tag team matchup. It is Dustin Rhodes and Vader versus Kenzuki, Sasaki, and the Barbarian. I thought this was a good matchup as well. Back and forth matchup between both teams with Dustin and Vader keeping the pace of the match. Vader ends up landing devastating strikes on the Barbarian. Dustin then lands chops on Sasaki. Vader then hits a power slam on Sasaki in the middle of the ring. Then Dustin ultimately hits a roll up, pins for the three, and your winners of the match are Dustin Rhodes and Vader. Hats off to Dustin Rhodes and Vader for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It is Barry Windham and the Great Muta versus Too Cold Scorpio and Brian Pillman. I thought this was a good matchup. Back and forth matchup between both teams with Pillman and Scorpio keeping the pace of the match. Pillman and Barry Windham both exchange in the middle of the ring. Muta then hits a spin kick. Windham then hits a lariat. Muta then hits an elbow drop in the middle of the ring. Windham then hits a DDT on Too Cold Scorpio. And then Muta ultimately hits a moonsault off the top rope on Scorpio. Pins him for the three, and your winners of the match are Barry Windham and the Great Muta. Hats off to Barry Windham and the Great Muta for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It is Eric Watts and Jushin Thunder Liger versus Sting and Dr. Death Steve Williams. I thought this was a good matchup as well. Back and forth matchup between both teams with Sting and Dr. Death Steve Williams keeping the pace of the match. Watts and Williams both exchange in the middle of the ring. Watts then applies an STF on Williams, but Williams breaks the hold. Williams then sends Watts into the ropes, neck first, pins for the three, and your winners of the match are Sting and Dr. Death Steve Williams. Hats off to Sting and Dr. Death Steve Williams for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It is the Great Muta versus Masahiro Chono for the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. I thought this was a great match. Back and forth matchup between Muta and Chono, with Chono hitting an enziguri on Muta. Chono was keeping the pace of the match, with Chono ultimately applying his signature STF on the Great Muta. And your winner of the match by submission, and at that time still NWA World Heavyweight Champion, is Masahiro Chono. Hats off to Masahiro Chono for getting the win in that matchup. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It is for the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. It is Ron Simmons versus Dr. Death Steve Williams. I thought this was a good matchup as well. Back and forth matchup between Simmons and Williams, with Williams keeping the pace of the match. Williams hits a three-point stance on Ron Simmons, and Ron then hits a three-point stance of his own on Dr. Death Steve Williams. But this match ultimately ends in a count out. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It is Shane Douglas and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat versus Brian Pillman and Barry Windham for the WCW Tag Team Championships. I thought this was a good matchup as well. Back and forth matchup between both teams, with Pillman and Windham keeping the pace of the match. But Shane Douglas ultimately hits the finish, pins for the three, and your winners of the match, and at that time, still WCW Tag Team Champions, are Shane Douglas and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Hats off to Shane Douglas and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat for getting the win in that match and retaining the WCW Tag Team Championships. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It is the King of Cable matchup. It is Vader versus Sting. I thought this was a great match. Back and forth matchup between Vader and Sting, with Vader keeping the pace of the match. Vader hits a devastating press slam on Sting into the ropes. Vader then lands devastating strikes on Sting in the corner. Sting then gets up, hits a DDT on Vader. Sting then applies a Scorpion Deathlock on Vader, but Vader quickly breaks the hold. Vader then hits a splash on Sting for a near fall. Sting then hits a splash of his own off the top rope on Vader. Vader then gets up, hits a devastating choke slam on Sting. Vader then hits a splash on Sting as well. Vader then goes for a top rope maneuver, but Sting counters it with a power slam, pins for the 3, and your winner of the match is Sting. Hats off to Sting for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It is the main event of Starrcade 1992. It is the Battle Bowl match. I always think these matches are really good. Back and forth matchup with everybody involved in the match. Wyndham and the Great Muta were the last 2 competitors in the ring, with Muta ultimately eliminating Barry Windham. And your winner of the match of the Battle Bowl of 1992 is the Great Muta. Couple of things I'm going to say about Starrcade 1992, man, before I get out of here. Number one, this was a decent event. I'm not going to sit here and say it was the best event, but it damn sure was not the worst. There was a couple matches on here that I actually generally enjoyed seeing. Dustin Rhodes teaming up with Vader against Sasaki and Barbarian was a solid matchup from top to bottom. Barry Windham and Great Muta versus Too Cold Scorpio and Brian Pillman was also a solid match. The Great Muta versus Masahiro Chono for the NWA World Heavyweight Championship, a solid match, with Chono coming out with the victory. And as well as Ron Simmons and Dr. Death Steve Williams for the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. That was a solid matchup as well. I wish we got a clear-cut winner in that match, but unfortunately the match ended in a double countout. And as well, the other match that I liked on here was Vader versus Sting in the King of Cable match. I'm not big on the gimmick matches, but Vader and Sting was one of the best rivalries of all time, especially within WCW. And to see both those guys in the ring competing against each other was absolutely awesome to watch. And Sting ended up picking the victory in that matchup due to the power slam that he landed on Vader. As well as the main event, we had the Battle Bowl. And I'm not a big fan of the Battle Bowl. The Battle Bowl kind of, resembled to me the Royal Rumble. You had tag matches throughout the night for people to actually advance to the Battle Bowl if they won those tag team matchups. So it kind of reminded me of the Royal Rumble, and at the same time it kind of didn't. But as far as Starrcade 1992, as far as a rating is concerned, I'm going to have to give Starrcade 1992 a solid rating of a 5, maybe a 5.5 at best. So, like I said, Starrcade 1992 wasn't the best event, but it damn sure was not the worst. I'm going to have to give Starrcade 1992 a solid rating of a 5, 5.5 at best. But this is my review of Starrcade 1992. I hope you guys are out there staying safe. Be careful, and remember, stay classic. Peace.